Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time we're tackling success. More specifically, all those unexpected factors that contribute to extraordinary success. We'll be taking a close look at Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, Outliers. Love that book.
Yeah, it really kind of changes the way you think about achievement, you
Hmm.
know? Because Gladwell argues that it's not all about just talent and hard work.
So, like, what else is there? I mean, I'm hooked already.
Well, he kicks things off with this idea of the 10,000-hour rule.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, the idea is that to really master anything, you need to put in something like 10,000 hours of dedicated practice.
10,000 hours. Wow. Like, are we talking about anyone specifically?
Yeah. Think about the Beatles, for instance. They spent years playing those crazy long gigs in Hamburg, just honing their skills through repetition.
So, even the Beatles, with all their natural talent, still needed that intense practice to get to that legendary level. Oh.
Exactly. But it's not just about mindlessly clocking in hours either. Gladwell really emphasizes deliberate practice, pushing yourself, always trying to improve.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
He also talks about Bill Joy, the software guy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Bill Gates, of course, Microsoft. Both of them had access to computer programming when they were super young, way before most people.
Ah, so they had a head start.
Yeah, like they were swimming in code before most people even knew what a computer was.
I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here. So you have these incredibly talented individuals, but they also have these incredible opportunities to practice and really like refine their skills. So it's like a combination of talent and opportunity.
You got it. And those opportunities aren't always about being the most naturally gifted. Gladwell talks about those lucky breaks,
Yeah.
being in the right place at the right time.
Right place, right time. Yeah.
But here's where things get really interesting. Gladwell then says that even having a super high IQ doesn't automatically equal success.
That's interesting. You'd think someone with like a genius level IQ would just be unstoppable.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But he tells this really compelling story about Christopher Langan, this guy with an insanely high IQ, like off the charts, brilliant.
Okay. And
Well, even with all that brain power, he hasn't achieved what we'd normally think of as success. He's struggled in academia and worked blue-collar jobs for a good chunk of his life.
wow. So it's not just about raw brain power then. There's got to be something else going on.
Right. And to illustrate this, Gladwell contrasts Langan with Robert Oppenheimer, the physicist who led the Manhattan Project.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, I know him.
He was also super intelligent, but he also had this incredible ability to navigate the world, charm his way into leadership roles, and get people to buy into his vision.
Okay, so we're talking about social skills, right? Like being able to communicate effectively, build relationships, influence people. Is that what Gladwell's getting at?
Exactly. He calls it practical intelligence, knowing how to talk to people, get what you want, read social situations.
Practical intelligence. I like that.
To make this point, he even shares this kind of crazy story about Oppenheimer trying to poison his tutor when he was younger.
Poison, really? That's a bit dark, even for a genius.
I know, right? But the point is, even after this pretty messed up act, Oppenheimer manages to charm his way out of serious trouble.
Gets away with it?
Pretty much, yeah. And later on, he lands the leadership role in the Manhattan Project, partly by charming General Leslie Groves. Groves was blown away by his charisma and insights.
So this social savvy, this practical intelligence, is as crucial as raw intellect. It's like you need to understand the world and how to work it to your advantage.
Exactly. It's not just what you know, but how you use it and who you know. And Gladwell dives even deeper, looking at how our families and cultures shape our chances of success. He talks about these two parenting styles, concerted cultivation and accomplishment of natural growth.
Those sound fancy. Break it down for me.
Think of it this way. Have you ever noticed how some parents are super involved in their kids' lives, like scheduling every activity, always advocating for them?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's concerted cultivation.
Yeah.
It's more common among middle-class families. They're actively shaping their kids' talents and giving them this sense of entitlement, encouraging them to, question adults and negotiate.
Makes sense.
Then there's accomplishment of natural growth, which is more common in working-class families. They provide love and care, of course, but their kids tend to develop more independently without all that structured guidance.
Interesting. So you're saying these different approaches prepare kids for different challenges in life.
Exactly. It's like they're being set up to succeed in different ways, even within the same society. And if we think back to Christopher Langan and Robert Oppenheimer, their upbringings definitely played a role in their different paths.
Yeah, I see that. Langan, despite his brilliance, seemed to struggle with those practical skills, navigating complex social situations. While Oppenheimer, being raised with privilege and entitlement, just seemed to have those skills naturally.
Right. And get this, Gladwell takes us from parenting styles to, wait for it, rice paddies.
Rice paddies, hold on, how do rice paddies fit into all of this?
It's fascinating, trust me. He explores the history of rice farming in Asia, especially in southern China. Rice farming, it's incredibly demanding, thousands of hours of meticulous work every year.
Intense.
Yeah, but it's not just about hard labor. It requires planning, understanding irrigation, being in tune with nature. It's about problem solving, resilience, that deep connection to the land. And Gladwell argues that this whole legacy of rice farming has ingrained in these cultures the values of hard work, persistence, and tackling tough problems.
Ah, okay. So that cultural legacy passed down through generations could give people an advantage in achieving success. It really makes you rethink where those advantages come from.
Right. It blows your mind a little. And remember, Bill Joy and Bill Gates, both known for their crazy work ethic. It makes you wonder if this idea of cultural legacy might have played a role in their success, too.
Yeah, I see the connection. So we've got intelligence, practical skills, cultural influences, all these factors playing into success.
And it gets even more interesting. Gladwell then zooms in on individuals and the sacrifices they often make to achieve success. He introduces us to Marita, this student at Chi PP Academy, a charter school in the Bronx.
Chi PP Academy, what's so special about it?
It's designed to help underprivileged kids succeed. And Marita, she decides to go all in with this demanding schedule, sacrifices free time, social stuff, to really focus on her education.
Wow, that takes commitment.
It does. And this is where Gladwell's idea of meaningful work comes in. Marita's story shows that success often needs people to make tough choices and grab opportunities that aren't available to everyone. Key PP creates an environment where hard work feels worthwhile. The students see a link between their effort and what they achieve. They get that same feeling of purpose that those rice farmers had, that their hard work has a real impact on their lives.
So it's not just about putting in the hours, but finding meaning in what you're doing. That sense of purpose can be a huge motivator.
Totally. And there's a pattern here. What'd you say? Success isn't just about talent or opportunity, but also about that willingness to work hard, make sacrifices, and find meaning in pursuing your goals.
Yeah, it's like Gladwell showing us this whole intricate web of individual effort, historical stuff, cultural influences, and of course the power of opportunity. He's really flipping the script on how we usually see success.
He definitely makes you question the usual story, right?
Yeah.
Seems success is this mix of things, some we can control and some we can't, all interacting in these complex ways.
It's making me rethink a lot of things, but I'm guessing there's even more to this success puzzle.
Oh, there's a ton more. We'll have to save that for part 2.
Wow, that was quite a ride. Rice paddies and practical intelligence. So, what other surprising connections does Gladwell bring up?
Okay, get this. He takes us from rice paddies to cockpits.
Cockpits, like airplanes.
Yeah, exactly. He looks at airline pilots and how cultural factors can actually contribute to accidents.
Wait, culture can impact something as technical as flying? How does that even work?
It really comes down to communication, like
Yeah.
how different cultures deal with authority. Gladwell uses this term, Power Distance Index, or PDI.
PDI, okay. I'm not familiar with that one. What is it?
It's basically a way to measure how much a culture values and respects authority figures. Gladwell got this idea from a Dutch social psychologist named Geert Hofstede, who studied cultural differences between countries.
Interesting. So how does this PDI thing relate to pilots and plane crashes?
Well, Gladwell's argument is that in cultures with a high PDI, there's this big emphasis on hierarchy and obeying authority. And this can cause problems in the cockpit because junior officers might not want to speak up or challenge the captain, even if they see something risky happening.
Oh, wow. You mean a co-pilot might not say anything if they think the captain is making a mistake? All because of cultural norms.
Yeah, it's a scary thought, but it's a reality Gladwell explores. He gives the example of Korean Air Flight 801 that crashed in Guam back in '97.
Oh, I remember that one. Tragic.
The investigation found that the first officer and the flight engineer, they had chances to speak up to tell the captain about their concerns, but they didn't. The captain was making a dangerous landing in bad weather.
So they saw the danger, but didn't feel they could challenge the captain.
Exactly. And this hesitation, rooted in their cultural background, it played a part in the crash.
That's a powerful example of how important clear communication is, especially when the stakes are so high. It seems like successful teams, whether it's in a cockpit or anywhere else, need to have an environment where everyone can speak up, no matter their rank.
Absolutely. Gladwell really emphasizes that. He contrasts Korean Air's problems with, like Delta and Qantas, those airlines, with amazing safety records. Those airlines have a lower PDI and encourage more open communication in the cockpit. Everyone feels comfortable speaking up.
So it's not just about technical skills, but also about creating the right team culture. That ties back to the idea of practical intelligence and understanding different cultures, doesn't it?
Totally. Successful people, successful teams, they need to be able to navigate those tricky social situations, understand cultural differences, and adjust their communication style accordingly.
Yeah, it's all connected. So we've got opportunity, cultural background, practical intelligence, meaningful work, communication. It really paints a different picture of success than just talent and hard work.
It definitely makes you question the traditional narrative, right? Success seems to be this combination of factors, some we can control, some we can't, all coming together in these intricate ways.
It really does make you wonder how these ideas apply today, especially with the internet and everything. Like, how do Gladwell's theories hold up in the age of, influencers and tech startups?
That's such a good question. It makes me want to reread Outliers with fresh eyes, and see how those insights apply to our digital world. It's like a whole new chapter waiting to be explored.
Always more to learn, right? I bet revisiting Gladwell's work with this tech lens will give us some really interesting new perspectives.
Well, get ready for even more insights as we continue this deep dive into Outliers.
Mm.
So we've talked rice paddies, we've talked airplane cockpits. What else does Gladwell cover?
Well, one thing that really struck me was how Gladwell brings in this global perspective when he talks about success. He doesn't just focus on American examples.
Right.
He takes us all over the world, exploring all these different cultures and how they achieve success.
He does, yeah. Like he connects those rice paddies in Asia
Yeah.
to the stories of those Jewish lawyers in New York City, how they became so successful.
Oh, yeah?
He shows how their skills and the changes happening in the legal field at the time, it created this perfect opportunity for them.
It's amazing how he connects all these pieces, history, culture, individual effort, all coming together to create these moments of success.
And he tells the stories in such an engaging way, right? He uses data, he uses anecdotes, these really compelling stories that make you rethink everything you thought about success.
Speaking of stories, I was really touched by the epilogue of Outliers, where he talks about his own family.
Oh yeah, a Jamaican story.
It's so personal and powerful, the way he reflects on his mother's success.
Yeah.
He brings up colonialism, racial dynamics, even a chance encounter that changed her whole life.
It's like he's taking his own theories and applying them to his family.
Exactly. He's showing how all these hidden advantages and historical forces shaped his mother's path, how she was able to get a good education.
It really adds a personal touch to the book.
Definitely. It's like he's saying, hey, these forces I'm talking about, they're not just abstract ideas. They've shaped my life, too,
Yeah.
and the lives of my family.
It makes you realize that success is rarely just about one person.
Yeah. It's the result of history, community, all the people who came before us. It makes the whole conversation about success feel much more relatable.
It does. It reminds us that we all have these legacies, these stories that have shaped who we are. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Outliers, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I'm just amazed by how complex success really is.
Yeah, it's not a simple formula at all.
Right. It's this mix of talent, hard work, opportunity, and all these historical and cultural forces that we often don't even see.
And Gladwell leaves us with this really thought-provoking question, doesn't he? If success relies so much on opportunities that aren't always available to everyone, how do we create a world where everyone has a fair shot at success?
It's a question that stays with you.
It really makes you think beyond just individual achievement and look at all those bigger factors that shape outcomes. It's like he's urging us to build a world where everyone has access to opportunities, where talent is nurtured, where everyone can thrive. So on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into Outliers. It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has.
I highly recommend checking out the book for yourself. Gladwell's insights and stories are incredibly thought-provoking, and I think you'll find it really rewarding.